I still remember how carefully I had planned our one-year anniversary. It was a beautiful Saturday evening, with summer slowly giving way to fall. I decided to make it special at home, where we could be ourselves without any distractions. I spent hours getting everything perfect, placing small candles on the mantelpiece, and setting up the table lamp to create just the right mood. Our favorite songs played softly in the background while I prepared her favorite dinner: spaghetti carbonara with garlic bread and a simple salad. I even put fresh daisies on the table, their bright yellow centers matching how hopeful I felt about our future. When my girlfriend walked in, her smile lit up the whole room. She was dressed casually, but looked beautiful as always. Looking at her, I couldn't help thinking how lucky I was, and how this past year had been the best of my life. We had grown so close, and I felt like we could tell each other anything. That's why we had decided to make this evening extra special, by sharing our deepest secrets. Not the everyday stuff, but the kind of things you keep buried inside. It seemed perfect. What better way to mark our first year together than by being completely honest with each other? Dinner went great. We talked, laughed, and enjoyed the wine I'd picked out. But I had this nervous feeling in my stomach about the secrets we were about to share. If only I had known how that night would change everything. After clearing the dishes and refilling our wine glasses, we settled on the couch. The candlelight made everything feel warm and intimate, but there was this tension in the air that I couldn't quite explain. She started fidgeting with her wine glass, and I could tell something big was coming. "I've never told anyone this," she began, not quite looking at me. "My relationship with my ex was different from anything I've experienced." She went on to tell me about their 6-year relationship, how he was her first serious boyfriend, and how deeply they had connected. My heart sank with every word. She explained how she had ended things because he wouldn't commit to their future, but the breakup had crushed her. She told me about losing her job, gaining weight, and fighting depression for months afterward, all things she had never mentioned before. "I'm telling you this because I want us to be completely honest," she said, finally meeting my eyes. "I love you, and I'm happy with you. I don't want to go back to him, but you should know that a part of my heart will always remember what we had." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Here I was, thinking we were building something special, only to find out I might always be second best to someone from her past. I wanted to be understanding. She was trusting me with something very personal, but all I could think was, am I just a backup plan? Someone to help her get over her ex? "I don't want to be just a comfort after your heartbreak," I said quietly. "How can we move forward if you're still so connected to your past?" She tried to explain that what we had was different, potentially even deeper than her previous relationship. She wasn't asking me to compete with her ex. She wanted me to be myself. But something had shifted. The rest of our anniversary evening became a blur of uncomfortable conversations and forced smiles. What had started as a perfect celebration had turned into a night that would make me question everything about our relationship. We tried to talk about other things, but the mood was gone. Those candles I had so carefully arranged seemed to cast shadows rather than create romance, and our favorite songs playing in the background felt hollow. We decided to end the evening early, both needing time to process everything. Over the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about her relationship with her ex. They had gotten together when they were teenagers, spending 6 important years of their lives together. They had shared everything: dreams, friends, even had a pet together. It was the kind of relationship that leaves a mark. I understood why she had ended things with him. She wanted to move forward, but he kept dragging his feet about their future. Still, knowing she had walked away didn't make it any easier to accept how deeply she still felt about him. My own dating history was different. I'd had a few relationships before, but nothing longer than 2 years, and all the breakups had been pretty smooth. I had never experienced the kind of deep connection she described, which made it hard for me to relate to what she was going through. I started looking at our relationship differently. For me, what we had was a fresh start, a chance to build something real and lasting. But for her, it seemed like she was still carrying around the weight of her past relationship, trying to find happiness while dealing with old feelings that wouldn't go away. We needed to get on the same page about what we wanted. She needed to know I was in it for the long run and could handle her complicated feelings. I needed to be sure she was really invested in building a future with me, not just trying to recreate what she had lost. After much thinking, I decided to have another serious talk with her. I wanted to tell her that I was willing to work through this, but things needed to change. I needed to feel like her first choice, not just someone who came along after her great love story ended. When we met up to talk, I could tell something was different. Before I could even explain what I had been thinking, she looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said, "but I think we should end this. I can't love you the way I loved him. When I'm with you, I can't help remembering the time we spent together." Her words hit me like a truck. Everything I had planned to say disappeared. The future I had imagined with her crumbled right in front of me. What made it worse was that her ex came to pick her up after our conversation. It felt like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. The next few weeks were hell. I fell apart completely, drinking every night, crying myself to sleep, missing work. I couldn't stop texting her, even though I knew I shouldn't. This went on for almost a month before I realized something had to change. I decided to meet her one last time to get some closure. We agreed to meet at our usual cafe on Saturday. Sitting across from each other, everything felt different. The place where we used to share laughs and make plans for our future now felt like a stranger's territory. "I care about you deeply," I started, trying to keep my voice steady, even though my heart was racing. "But I think we're just in different places right now." She nodded, and I could see in her eyes that she knew this was coming. "I love you," I continued, "and that's exactly why I can't keep doing this. You deserve to sort out your feelings without feeling guilty, and I deserve someone who can love me completely." It hurt to say these words, but they needed to be said. We talked about how things would be moving forward. Neither of us wanted to end on bad terms, but we both knew we couldn't just be friends right away. It would take time for those feelings to fade into something less painful. When we stood up to say goodbye, we hugged for a long time. It wasn't a romantic hug anymore, but more like a thank you for all the good times and an apology for all the pain. "Take care of yourself," she whispered. "You too," I replied, managing a small smile. "I hope you find what you're looking for." Walking away from that cafe was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But strangely, I felt lighter. The constant worry about measuring up to her ex, the fear of never being enough, it all started to lift from my shoulders. The healing wasn't quick or easy. Some days were better than others. I'd catch myself reaching for my phone to text her about something funny that happened at work, only to remember we weren't together anymore. I'd walk past places we used to go together and feel a punch in the gut. But slowly, very slowly, those moments became less frequent. I started focusing on myself again, got back into my old hobbies, spent more time with friends, and actually showed up to work consistently. I learned something important through all of this. Loving someone means accepting all of them, including their past, but it doesn't mean you have to compete with their ghosts. Looking back now, I understand that relationships aren't just about love. They're about timing, emotional availability, and being on the same page about the future. My girlfriend and I might have loved each other, but we were reading different books entirely. She was still stuck in her past story while I was trying to write a new one. I won't lie and say I'm completely over it. Sometimes I still wonder what could have been if things were different. If she had been ready to love me the way I needed to be loved. But I've made peace with how things turned out. Our relationship taught me a lot about love, about myself, and about what I want in a partner. Most importantly, I learned that it's okay to walk away from something that's hurting you, even if you love the person. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit that love isn't enough. You need the right timing, the right mindset, and two people who are equally ready to build something new together. As I focus on healing and moving forward, I'm not rushing to find someone new. Instead, I'm taking time to understand myself better and figure out what I really want in a relationship. When I do meet someone special again, I'll know better. I'll look for someone who's ready to create new memories rather than living in old ones. Our story might not have had a happy ending, but it wasn't a waste. It was a chapter in both our lives that helped us grow, even if it hurt. Sometimes that's just how life works. The painful moments teach us the most important lessons.